Welcome to Number Ball, everybody's favorite game. Tonight's episode, it's the trombones versus the elephants. Let's get right to the action. Trombones start off and go up 2. Then, in their next set of downs, they go up 3, pushing the elephants back. So far, in the first set of downs, 2 plus 3 equals 5. And naturally, per number ball, as all those you know how to play it, we reset after 2 sets of downs. We're back at 0. Elephant squares up, determined. And immediately, right off the bat, trombone is pushed back 2. And then in the next down, pushed back another 4. So, our set of downs is -2 plus -4. Elephant really has trombone back on his heels, and we reset that back for the last of the triad of downs. Trombone squares up determinedly, goes up a solid 1, hard fault against the elephant, and then stunningly it's knocked back 4. So in the last set of downs, trombone is +1 plus -4 equals -3. That's a +1. Now, as we switch the field, as all those who know number ball know that we do at this time, let's go down to our man on the field, Jim Matry. Jim, what can you tell us about these two competitors?
I gotta tell you, I really like the elephant style. He's really got the trombone back on his heels here. And as we switch fields, let's see if trombone can dish out some of the same defensive tenaciousness that the elephant had. Elephant's really gonna have his hands full here. Here we go. Back to you, Al.
All right, and as we start off our next set of downs, first of all, elephant is knocked back. -4, taking some of his own medicine from Mr. Trombone. But then he pushes back up 3. So we have, at the end of the first set of downs, -4 plus 3 equals -1. And now the reset. Back at 0. Elephant staring down at Trombone and powers up 3. But then is knocked down -2. So we have 3 plus -2 is 1. Our last set of downs in the triad. Elephant, staring him down, raises his trunk and forces up a full 5. It's an amazing play. Trombone doesn't know what's happened, but then he pushes back another 2. So we've got 5 plus -2 equals 3. What an amazing match. Let's go back for the reset. We had 5 plus -2 equals 3. We had -4 plus 3 equals -1. We had 3 plus -2 equals 1. We had 1 plus -4 equals -3. We had -2 plus -4 equals -6. And we had 2 plus 3 equals 5. Now there's a pattern going here. You'll notice that when there's 2 losses, you end up with a large loss. When there's 2 gains, you end up with a large gain. When there's a mixture, you end up with something else. And let's see if we can't rearrange this to get a pattern going here. We've got our negatives here. We've got our positives here. And what happens here is when you've got 2 numbers that are different, you actually end up subtracting the numbers themselves, what we call their absolute values. And then you keep the sign of the bigger one because that's you ended up either negative in this case, or over here, the bigger number was positive, you ended up on the positive side. So our pattern as the reset is a positive plus a positive is a positive sum. You add the numbers. A negative plus a negative is a negative sum. You add the numbers, but it's a bigger negative loss. If they're different, it's the difference. You subtract the numbers, and it's the sign of the larger. And when we say larger and subtract, we're really talking about absolute values, just the digits themselves. And then we take the signs in later. All right. No, so we've got this for addition. Let's see if we can't convert this to multiplication. So the rules are slightly different here for multiplication. Let's pretend that the elephant moved up 2 sets of 3, which would be legal, or he moved up 3 sets of 2, which is not a legal play in our game because we know we reset after 2. Everyone who follows number ball knows this. But basically, it's the same thing. So if the elephant had 2 sets of 3, he'd have 6. Or 3 sets of 2, he'd have 6. Although the officials will be saying, hey, how'd you get 3 downs? But we're not going to worry about that now. So that's just positive times a positive is a positive. If, on the other hand, the elephant gets pushed back by Mr. Trombone, 2 sets of 3, or negative 3 sets of negative 2, ends up at negative 6. So we have a positive times a negative equals negative 6. And then finally, a negative times a negative. Now this is a little weird because you're like, well, how can you do that? How can he have a negative number of sets? Well, think about it from Mr. Trombone's perspective. If, in fact, the elephant moved up 3 and then another 3, from the trombone's perspective, this is actually moving negative for him. So it's a negative 3 and a negative 3. But it wasn't him who moved. The elephant actually owned those. And so that's like a negative set. So the elephant moved up twice, and from the trombone's perspective, that is negative 2 sets of negative 3 or 6. So our rules for multiplication are different than those for addition. A positive times a positive equals a positive. A negative times a negative flips it around and becomes a positive again. And then a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative is a negative. This is algebra along with Tom Geometry. Oh, something like that. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, signing off.